Hi, I'm Wanda Miller. The images and realities of the problems affecting youth can easily lead to despair. It's rare indeed to find a positive response that offers hope. The following videotape examines an encouraging grassroots effort undertaken in Rochester, New York. The purpose of this videotape is to educate the viewer about a dance form known as stepping and its adaptation as an after-school activity. Step, as it's popularly known, is an African-American dance tradition incorporating rhythmic foot stamping, hand clapping, percussive body movements, and vocal chants. Step developed as a physical communication medium for transmitting oral history and cultural traditions. Predating Morse code, the acoustic beats delivered messages about location and intent. Classical African dance traditions brought elements of step to America during the slavery period. From its tribal roots, its branches have grown in different directions. One extension, the boot dance, was performed by African-American coal miners as entertainment on their day of rest. In the early 1900s, African-American fraternities and sororities incorporated step within their collegiate traditions. A major contribution to stepping came from the military drill routines perfected by black servicemen returning from the First and Second World Wars. In fact, in many parts of the country, step teams are often referred to as drill teams. Elements of cheerleading update the vocal chant tradition for today's audiences. The infusion of popular dance and music from blacks everywhere enriches the step tradition further. The Rochester effort began in 1993 when some high school students wanted to start an after-school club based on step. Stepping spoke to their needs for belonging and sharing an identity. It provided a wholesome alternative to gang membership. Stepping transformed their pent-up energies and aggressiveness through artistic expression. And besides, it was just plain fun.
Okay, stepping was originated years ago at a collegiate level. And some of my kids saw some people stepping on their Arsenio Hall show, two fraternities competing against each other. They came up and approached me at school and asked me, was there any way that we could start a step team here at Edison? They found out that, you know, it was a difference from being in a gang or being in a club or something like that. Our concept was having more like a family, more like a community type thing, and at the same time trying to build our educational level within ourselves, working together, having the kids help each other. In a way, it was a healing process for our kids and ourselves to try to reduce some of the violence in the school, try to curb some of the anger from one group of kids to another. As this progressed, we started finding out that a lot of the people from the step team were starting to intermingle with the other kids who weren't on the step team and making them understand the togetherness that we had. The love that we share with each other and the help that we try to bring to each other at an educational level.
The success of the early teams inspired the creation of others. Interest grew in 1995 for a county-wide competition. But first, it was essential to organize and guide the development of non-collegiate step teams. A grassroots group of neighborhood youth workers and school personnel involved with step teams came together and formed the Rochester Step-Off Committee.
The Rochester Step-Off developed in response to a number of growing needs of young people, in response to the increasing number of teen pregnancies, the increasing number of young people dropping out of school, the increased number of young people failing in school, and what seemed to be kids just disengaging from the educational process. What we had hoped to do was to give kids hope, to help them decide on the right things, give them a forum to showcase their talents, to show people that young people have great aspirations, they want to be great, and that they are great. That showcase is through STEP. Additionally, we wanted them to use that forum to educate people about STEP and the traditions and the values that have been held amongst the Greek letter organizations for years, the traditions of high academics, scholastics, community service, family orientation, bonds and relationships with others. And through STEP, our young people have that opportunity. They have an opportunity to be a part of a family. They have an opportunity to get good guidance and directions over the long haul while having continuing relationships with one another, to deal with each other in ways that are non-aggressive, to deal with each other in a caring way that says we are family with each other, academic support, as well as being able to resolve issues in a casual way.
The committee made the bold move of staging its first competition in the region's largest arena. They wanted to grab the community's attention and show the positive efforts of young people.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first annual Rochester Step Off competition. It's my pleasure, I'm John Clendenin, to be your Master of Ceremonies this afternoon. We have an exciting show for all of you where we have youth of Rochester participating, showing their drive, desire, their determination to make a difference in their lives.
The event was an instant success. The annual Step Off became self-funding after its second year and has generated thousands of dollars for scholarships, savings bonds, and team awards for academic progress. But rapid growth posed big problems. Teams were inconsistent in their adaptation of the college model. Stepping required a comprehensive program if it were to remain authentic to its historical and academic roots. STEP is not just an entertainment medium. It is a vehicle for academic achievement and character development. Common understandings and expectations had to be made clear. The Rochester Step Off Committee developed a basic set of guidelines known as the Rochester Step Team Accord. Teams following this model will provide an academic improvement component which rewards achievement, amends deficiencies, and prepares for college. Create opportunities for self-development and cultural enhancement. Perform public service. And respect physical conditioning, safety, and good sportsmanship. The Step Off Committee serves as an umbrella organization for local STEP teams that follow its policies and guidelines. The committee also performs an educational role. It trains advisors and captains, provides support services to teams, and develops informational materials relating to STEP. The Step Off Committee offers a regular series of meetings for advisors and team captains throughout the school year. Advisors learn program tips, exchange ideas, and even collaborate with the committee on grant writing on behalf of their teams. The following advisors meeting outlines the applications of the STEP Team Accord within a comprehensive program.
The first thing we have listed there is developing a program slash components. You really do need to put together a whole program. One of the models that we have is that it's not just an after-school activity, it is a program, meaning that there are components, there are things that have to be met, there are things that you do, and there are specific areas that we are working to enhance in each student that we're dealing with. Academic activities. There need to be academic activities associated with what you do, because of course, for the most part, because of what's going on with the Rochester Step Off, you cannot participate if kids are not, achieving academically.
One academic activity that we do on the girls' step team is progress reports, and the progress reports that we use are just the school's form, and the girls use those as entrance into step practice. So the teachers sign off their behavior, how their grades this week, and so we get a weekly report on how the girls are actually doing in each one of their classes.
Mm-hmm. There's a community involvement piece, and again, this is for our program. Just have them go and serve food at the mission, and be involved in, some of the events that you choose to step at will be community events where you will not get paid, or you're just going because they've asked you to come, and that is a community service. It is your time, it is their time, it is their skill being presented. The last one under there is behavior or conduct. There really needs to be a conduct code, a code of conduct, or a code of morale that students are expected to follow. You cannot have members on your team who are going out and misrepresenting the school, and stepping in general. You do want people who are going to represent what stepping is about in the program that you have put together in the appropriate way.
The Rochester model for STEP teams borrows from the collegiate tradition. Early teams lacked a strong basic understanding of how STEP plays an important role in the academic and social life of Greek letter fraternity and sorority members. The next segment involves men and women professionals who benefited from the collegiate legacy of stepping. They offer helpful and heartfelt criticism to STEP team captains.
Right from our beginning, and also just so you know, we are the oldest of the college Black Greek fraternities. Not only the oldest, but the boldest and the coldest. But as you can see from the very beginning, all seriousness, we were founded for service purposes, for community service. In 1906, in December in Ithaca, New York, it wasn't about a step show. It wasn't about partying. It was about black men who were trying to do some things with themselves, with their lives. They were hitting the books. They were in college, and scholarship and education was a very big part of the whole program and the whole reason that we came together. Locally, and just to back up, there's chapters all across the country. There's also chapters in other countries. We have some chapters in Germany and Africa and places like that. But it's a national organization. We have numerous famous members, too many to mention. I'll mention Martin Luther King Jr., Colin Powell, and I could go on. I won't take the time to do that. Right now you're stepping, and that's fine. But just because you're on a step team does not make it a fraternity. It does not make it a sorority. Right now I would consider it a hobby and something that you're interested in doing, very serious about, but it is not the same. I think there's a little bit of concern about the Greek letters and about the signals and hand signs and the actual calls and whatnot. Those particular things, when they belong to a fraternity or sorority, should not under any circumstances be imitated, be copied, be mimicked in any way. It's a very serious thing. Now, I can't say that it's as serious as, so-called gang signs or anything like that, but it's something that's personal, that's private, and people work to be able to do those kinds of things.
I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We were founded January 13th, 1913 at Howard University by 22 envisioned and dynamic women. We are currently the largest black women's organization in the country. And if you know, I didn't say sorority, I said women's organization. We have over 200,000 members and over 850 chapters. So basically what I'm saying is that we are a powerful vehicle of expression and a voice for black women, as are the fraternities for black men. We are primarily a public service organization. That is what we do. Stepping, parties, all the fun things are secondary. And our focus is to uplift the black community. And I think that's what we all do here. That is why we are in these organizations. It's very important to know that all of us have GPA requirements. So what you're learning here in terms of the being on your step teams and being able to step in the step off is very comparable to college, because you can't, if you don't have a certain GPA, if you don't have public service, if you are not a person of honor, and especially for women, if you are not an honorable woman, meaning that you have shown some type of dignity and you are not out there, if you don't have these things together, any reputable organization is not going to let you in. In terms of how I feel about the Rochester Step Off or even step teams, the reason why I'm involved in step teams is because I know that the students love it. I don't particularly believe in the whole ideology because I feel that the whole cultural concept and the concept of fraternities and sororities is being lost. There have been many times when I have been at events and I have been offended because people sometimes are wearing my letters across their chest. Some organizations, or excuse me, some step teams have calls, some step teams have hand signals, some step teams just try to replicate fraternities and sororities, and then I get offended because when I go to approach the young people, it's like, what are you talking about? And I think that you all need to understand that that's disrespectful. We work very hard to get in our organizations. I won't go into our process, but we didn't just walk on and say, hey, I want to be a Delta, hey, I want to be a Sigma, I want to be an Alpha. It wasn't like that. We had to meet requirements and we had to work hard. And so we get offended when it just seems like students don't understand why we're upset.
The reason why we step is a celebration of the work we've done, and the work we've done in the community is what I mean. We do extensive community service. We're here for the betterment of our people, reaching back and pulling up our young brothers and sisters, you know, where we came from, and putting them ahead in life, teaching them. That's what stepping is all about. You know, it's just a celebration. What makes me frustrated when I see stepping so commercialized is it's losing its worth. I mean, where's the community service? Where's the reasoning for stepping? Is what I'm saying. I mean, we all have step teams, and that's good. It's positive for young people like yourselves, but you know, I want it to be more than just stepping. I want y'all to go in the communities, go to some of these soup kitchens, and do some of the community service. What makes us different as an organization is the pledge process that we all go through, or been through. I mean, that makes us different. I mean, because anybody can join an organization, but the pledge process teaches us a lot about ourselves, a lot about our communities, history in general. I mean, that's what makes us different from other organizations. I also wanted y'all to understand that.
Stepping blends artistry with athleticism. It was important to educate team captains about the cultural links of stepping while developing proper dance techniques. Artist in residence, Zaipa Oula provided the perfect link. With his knowledge of classical African dance and his background as a professional dance instructor, he trained team captains in proper conditioning techniques. Advisors and captains must now incorporate these techniques as standard procedures.
Okay, that's good, that's good. What we're going to be doing is to, first of all, warm up our body, stretch, and work on our endurances, like how to get strong, how to develop a muscle, or how to get your, your body leaned. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm not asking you to come off the floor like a football player like this, okay? Just the shoulder off the floor. 1, 2, 3, okay? Make sure you're working for your abdomen, okay? 2, 3, 4, 5, count for me. Count, 7, 8. I want you to stretch your lower back after hard exercise. Watch everybody, like you're sitting up, watch me. Your arms are open, you cross your leg over, and let the lower back relax, and do other side, okay? The same thing. Ready? Yes. For those who can't stand on their toe, make sure you're not using your lower back. Make sure you're not using your lower back. It might hurt you. So it's up, down, up, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Move. Don't sit on your leg, okay? This is like sitting on, your chest is sitting. You want to go low as possible. So move your hands away from it, okay? Keep the right leg straight angle, right angle. Not bend like this, but straight angle, like 90 degree, here, straight, okay? And low hips, drop your hips down, sit in it. Let me correct you, stay in it. Hips you down, yes. Right angle, right there. This leg back, right there. Right angle, pull back a little bit, this one. Yes. Down. Low hips, and stay. 1, 2, 3. Down. Go back to 6. Okay? And make sure it's open. 16 count center. Here, Ready? 5, 6, 7. Go over. Point your feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay? Over, sideways. Sideways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? 7. So lower back. Everybody flat back here. Make sure your legs are not away from your hips. Keep your legs under the hips. Okay? 5. Everybody back down. 6, 7, 8. Swing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Higher. 7, 8, 9.
In addition to the stretching exercises just seen, clinical technologist Leslie Grant of University Sports Medicine, affiliated with Strong Memorial Hospital, reviews physical conditioning and safety issues relating to STEP.
Roshana, let me tell you how important it is to take the time to warm up before you actually begin your stepping practice. You take about 10 to 15 minutes to actually get your blood flowing, get your muscles pumped with blood, get your heart rate going. So what you want to do is actually do a little walkthrough of your stepping routine before the practice actually begins. Okay. And this will get your body ready to actually sustain the impact that you're going to be putting on it once you're into full aerobic activity. After you've warmed up properly, you want to make sure you take the time to stretch, taking about 5, maybe even 10 minutes to actually, first of all, starting with your feet, because your feet are going to take a lot of stress. So actually roll your feet in to make sure you're getting a good stretch on the arches of your feet. When you're stepping, you're putting a lot of stress on those arches. So you want to make sure they're stretched out so they can sustain the stretch of stepping. The next thing you want to do is actually stretch out the ligaments in the ankle by doing a little bit of rolling, working through the range of the ankle, and getting those nice and loosened up. Now you want to make sure that you stretch your shins and your calves. So a good shin stretch is to actually bring your foot forward as you are, this, and actually put some pressure on it so you're getting a good stretch right along the shin. And then you want to hold it for 30 seconds and repeat it on each leg at least 3 times. After you've finished stretching the front portion of your leg, you want to actually do a calf stretch. This stretch works on the lower portion of the calf, and you're going to hold it for 30 seconds, making sure you repeat it on the opposite side. Now we're going to do a stretch that focuses on the belly of the calf. She's going to go into a lunge position and put her heel down. It moves the stretch from the lower part into the belly, the larger part of the calf muscle. Leaning forward, it stretches the calf, and you don't want to bounce because bouncing actually causes extra stretching in the muscle. After you finish stretching your calf, you're going to move up to the quad, the front of the thigh. You're going to bring your foot up and hold it. And as you're going to feel the stretch coming from your knee up into your hip. You're going to hold that also for 30 seconds and repeat it on both legs. You may need something to balance. Next, we want to stretch the hamstrings. A good stretch is to go forward, not going down too far that you feel pain, but you want to go till you feel a good stretch. You want to make sure that you do not bounce because you're going to do more harm than good to the area. But once you have a good stretch there, you want to hold it for 30 seconds. It's extremely important to stretch your lower back whenever you're going to be doing stepping. Your back receives a lot of the stress of it, so Roshana's bending forward, then she's going to round her way back up, stretching this area out and end with a hyperextension. If you find that while you're stepping you've sustained an injury, you want to stop what you're doing immediately. Take the time to look at the area, say for instance it's an ankle sprain, and make sure there's no swelling or discoloration in here. If there is, you want to use the RICE method. RICE stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. So first you've already started resting by stopping. You want to ice the area, putting the ice directly on the point of pain for about 20 minutes. and follow with a compression bandage. You want to wrap this around the area, and then you want to make sure you elevate the area, and it should be above your heart. This should keep all the fluid from pooling around the ankle. It's extremely important to cool down after you finish your stepping. You want to walk around for about 5 to 10 minutes to lower your heart rate and get your muscles to cool down. And repeat the same stretches you did in the warm-up phase. This prevents us from shocking the muscles and having spasms later. You won't always be stepping on such a nice resilient surface. Most of the times you're going to be on more of a solid surface. You don't want to step hard during practice. Save it for the show. This will take some of the impact off of your bones. As far as shoes go, these 2 pairs of shoes would not be a good choice because they do not offer enough support. This shoe is a little better than the others in that it has a leather upper and the lug sole. Not really recommended because it does not have enough shock absorption. The running shoe is preferred for practice because it has a lot of shock absorption and it has very good flexibility. This shoe is ideal for stepping because it has the lug sole that has good sound quality, it has the upper for ankle support, and it has good flexibility.
Stepping is a high-impact aerobic activity. Care and preparation must be taken to ensure that young developing bodies are not subjected to extreme physical demands. Team members should be checked by a school nurse or qualified medical professional prior to joining a team. Children younger than 15 are more likely to have a fracture than a sprain and should see a doctor. Get written medical clearance before returning to stepping and follow the prescribed guidelines for reconditioning after an injury. It's time to see how things come together in a program that follows the Rochester model for step teams. The team is the North Star Steppers of Frederick Douglass Middle School. Their advisor, Sean Hartnett, presented the program overview seen earlier. Action begins with their homework and tutoring sessions, which take place before practice gets underway. Of particular importance here is the cooperation with youth service workers from community agencies. This takes place at the end of the instructional day within the school building itself. In this instance, a neighborhood youth agency tutor works closely with the team's advisor. The Rochester STEP team model uses behavior contracts to address personal responsibility. This guided process relies on input from the student and counseling from an adult to arrive at a simple yet realistic course of action to follow.
So what would be a realistic number of times that I should have to tell you to close your mouth during the day? Once. Is that realistic? How many times do I tell you to close your mouth now? 12. You're right about 12. Let's try 4. So how are you going to write that? How are you going to write it? This is a part of your contract. You're adding this to your contract.
Stop having to get talked to.
Mr. Hartnett will not have to ask me to close my mouth more than
4 times
during the day.
STEP teams provide stable audiences over the course of the school year for groups involved with youth advocacy. STEP teams become receptive groups for workshops and presentations.
I'll set transportation up with the kids. Okay, the ages are between 13 to about 16, and we got about 25 kids that want to go to the camp. What we're going to do is that we're going to schedule that for May 29th for the Rotary, May 29th to May 31st, and we'll do the exercise that we talked about, the mini computer training. There'll just be a chance for the kids to get away from Rochester for a minute. It's in Rush, Henrietta. Okay, what I'll do is I provide all the permission slips. I'll provide the transportation. The kids bring that.
An outside agency is the best way for team advisors to address the self-development and cultural enhancement goals of the STEP Team Accord. Cooperation eases the advisor's burden for operating a comprehensive program. The results are mutually beneficial.
I'm a youth worker for Action for a Better Community Incorporated, and I work with kids. What I'm doing right now is I'm working with a group of kids at Douglas Middle School and trying to show them the form of stepping. While a student at SUNY Brockport, I am in a college fraternity, and I felt that being in a fraternity was very, very beneficial in me getting through school. In being in a fraternity, you had to keep up good grades, you had to keep up a good social status, and you had to be yourself. But there were standards that you had to meet in order to be in a fraternity. What I'm doing right now is meeting those same goals and expectations. I'm passing that on to the kids that I work with at Frederick Douglass Middle School. What I'm teaching the kids at Douglass is in order to be in a fraternity and in order to step, you have to have good grades. Not only am I showing the kids stepping, but I'm telling the kids that you have to have good grades in order to step. I'm hoping to pass that same information to the kids as they move on to high school. So in doing that, we hoping from high school they move on to college just because they want to learn how to step.
So what y'all need to do is come together as a team and get a letter, one letter, telling Sean all the things that y'all think y'all should do and what y'all shouldn't have did, and how y'all can go and correct it. And the first thing y'all gonna address is what? Just tell me the very first thing. Drilling. Drilling. Thank you, Alan. Since he's the only one that's gonna speak up. Thank you. Drilling. That gang stuff, the gang stuff, that got to stop. Okay? Now, as a team, y'all gonna do that. Not just Rondell, not just Anthony, a team. Need to come together and do a letter for Sean. And it ain't begging, it's saying, we did this. We. Not a person, we. Because he messed up, he's part of this team. Because that's just like y'all brother, right? Remember what Sean talked about? Regardless of what y'all do on each other, y'all not gonna let nobody jump on him. Regardless, I don't care. Y'all not. You can say what you want to say. You're not gonna let nobody jump on him because y'all a team. And that's cool, but it's not a game.
After the homework and tutoring sessions are completed,
we'll become men when we learn the art and science of manhood.
The North Star captain takes over and conducts the practice session. This becomes an opportunity to exercise leadership.
4. Everybody, of course, what you see behind us are a bunch of young men. We represent the North Star Step Team. I'm up here and I'm looking for a few good men. So do I have any volunteers? If not, here go the North Star Step Team. Go!
The members come together in what resembles a family more than a team. They draw strength from each other in positive ways.
And also, as far as this gang stuff, if you with this team right here, y'all should just kill all the other stuff, because gangs ain't worth it. It leads to messed up lives. And y'all, most of us